What's up, Bills Mafia? Week 3 is upon us, and the Buffalo Bills will play the Washington Commanders in Washington. And I got 6 storylines for you in that game. But before we get to that, let's get to that intro.
This is VZ Music.
Welcome to the Mafia Sports Report. I am Tommy. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell because I always forget to tell you. Well, Bills Mafia, I got 6 storylines to watch for when the Buffalo Bills play the Washington Commanders in Washington this Sunday. I actually have a big storyline that I want to get to, and what is going on with players retiring in Buffalo this season. That's now 2. Christian Kirksey, middle linebacker, who we just picked up and was on our practice squad, has officially retired today. Man, that sucks. That really does hurt the Buffalo Bills, especially on the depth of that middle linebacker. And I know a lot of you guys are going to see this and say, "Oh, Tommy, we're fine. Terrell Bernard's playing good." And that, yeah, he is. He is. And I hope he continues where he left off, in week 2. But that now limits us down to what we started with, which is Terrell Bernard, Dotson, and AJ Klein, which, by the way, was just signed to the practice squad. It concerns me because hopefully, if Bernard goes down, we're now left with Dotson and Klein. And we all saw what Dotson and Klein provided us in preseason, and it wasn't good. So we got to hope for, as Bills Mafia, that Bernard, 1, continues to stay healthy, and 2, he continues to play at a high level like we saw in week 2. That's what we need, and that's what we have to have, because at this point, unless there's a trade before the deadline, this is who we got. This is who we're rolling with for the rest of the season at middle linebacker, and that's our depth. And yeah, I'm just a little disappointed. I really thought Christian Kirksey was going to be a guy that could come on and get on the 53, and maybe not start, because of the way Bernard was playing, but at least be there in case Bernard went down, or maybe Bernard's play decline throughout the season. And unfortunately, unfortunately, Kirksey went ahead and retired today. And it is what it is, but that's now 2, Brandon Shell and Christian Kirksey. Didn't even step. Well, Brandon Shell stepped on the field, at least on a preseason game, but Christian Kirksey didn't even step on a field for the Buffalo Bills, and that's disappointing. So let's get to the 6 storylines here. And once again, shout out to Bills Wire for creating this article. All right, here we go. Not overlooking a 2-0 opponent. And yeah, that's right. While the Bills are riding high from the 38-10 win over the Raiders, they need to not overlook an opponent here in Washington. Not only are the Commanders a home underdog, a motivator for them, they're 2-0 and have found way to win games. Not to mention, it did look a bit like the Bills overlooked the New Jersey Jets in week 1, leading to their 22-16 overtime loss. Sean McDermott needs to keep this team dialed in. I agree. And you know what, though? That's one thing Sean McDermott has always done well for the most part. Very, very few games I can recall that this team wasn't dialed in, especially in the regular season. Now, there was a few. Jacksonville Jaguars, I believe that was in 2021, and we weren't dialed in there, and we got our tails spanked. But for the most part, this team, is a vet team. They understand that every team could beat you any given Sunday, so they will be prepared to play the Washington Commanders. And this isn't going to be no easy out. They have a great defensive line, and this we need to come prepared. And one thing Sean McDermott will do is have this team prepared. All right. Next up, that defensive front, which I was just talking about. All the talk around Orchard Park leading up to Sunday is going to center around the defensive line of Washington for good reason. For years, it has been one of the best in the NFL. The likes of Chase Young, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat will give the Bills problems. Not just because of the occasional inconsistent play of Buffalo's offensive line, but the Commanders' D line does that to everyone. The Bills are in for a huge test on offense. And I agree. Listen, and I keep telling you guys, offensive line is like a chain, man. If one link is broken, that wheel ain't moving. And everybody needs to do their job like they did this past Sunday against the Raiders. And if that means helping out Spencer Brown a little bit more, then fine, do it. And I believe Ken Dorsey and Cromer, they will have this team ready, the offensive line ready. And by the way, I love that they're limiting their penalties this season so far. That's great to see from this offensive line. So if everyone can do their job, I believe they can hold their own against a very young, talented defensive line in Washington. But if they don't, it's going to be a long day for Josh Allen, and he's going to have to really come up with some some Josh Allen trickery to get us the win, because it all starts up front. You guys know that, So we got to win the trenches, especially with our offensive line against our defensive line. That is no joke. All right, next up. Who is Sam Howell? Most of the reason the Commanders are running under the radar despite their 2-0 start is because of their quarterback, likely the most unknown one in the NFL. It's Sam Howell. Knock him all you want. His numbers are currently comparable to Josh Allen's. Howell, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 501 yards, 95 quarterback rating. Allen, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 510 yards, 94.5 quarterback rating. Not to mention his record is better. Yeah, I mean, but listen, second year Sam Howell, he to me he's average across the board. He doesn't have the greatest arm in the world. You could definitely get pressure on him, get to him, and yeah, no, there's no. I know the comparison now because it's week. It's only been 2 weeks, but there is no comparison. Josh Allen is by far the better quarterback going into this matchup. It's not even close. And I believe the Bills will get after Sam Howell and make him make some poor decisions in this game. So, all right, next up. Not out of the turnover jungle. Speaking of Allen, yes, he played better against the Raiders, but we've ridden this roller coaster before. There's still a chance he goes out there and starts the turning the ball over again in Washington. One game is just one game, and he should be asked about staying at that level all the way up until kickoff. Plus, it helped if the defense helped Buffalo win the overall turnover battle for the second straight week. Linebacker Terrell Bernard had his first career interception last week, and fellow linebacker Matt Milano had a ridiculous one of his own. I agree. Turnover battle, man. You always want to win the turnover battle. And that is key. That really is key. And I do believe we will win the turnover battle because I don't trust Sam Howell. Sam Howell makes mistakes as well. And I believe this defensive line of ours will get to Sam Howell and make him make some bad decisions, which will lead to some turnovers, possibly interception, strip, sack, fumble. I definitely can see that happening. But you definitely want to win the turnover battle. And we want to obviously not turn the ball over like we did in week 1. But like I said, man, it all starts up front. You protect Josh Allen. Josh Allen, give him a little bit of time to throw the ball. He will be just fine. Get him under duress, have him making, trying to play hero ball again like he did in week 1. It's going to be a problem. And you don't want that. So, yeah. All right, next up. Keep the help coming. The prior mentioned defensive line will come into play here. It might be tough to get running back James Cook going again against that unit. But whether it's Cook or Gabe Davis or someone else, it will be the utmost importance for the Bills offense to keep spreading the ball and getting some help for the likes of Allen and all pro receiver Stephon Diggs. 9 different receivers had a catch last week for Buffalo. Yeah, man, it was great to see the ball get spread around. Really enjoyed that. I hope they continue that. It was also great to see the running backs get involved, not only just James Cook, but Latavius Murray and Damian Harris. And I believe that might be the secret to our success is getting those running backs involved, especially early on, softening up that defensive line. I really hope they sprinkle in Murray and Harris early on, soften them up front, and then get James Cook really going later in that game, later in this game coming up. And that's where James Cook seems to really start to play his best ball, because he's not strong enough right now to go between the tackles. But soften them up with Murray and Harris, who are capable of doing that and are bangers, then yeah, man, James Cook can hit those holes that are now there and do his thing with his speed. So I really hope they do that again this week against Commanders. I also hope they go with a little up tempo offense, and really tired and wear out those Commanders defenders. That's something I would like to see in this game as well. All right. Next up, good or bad blood. Whenever there's a connection between McDermott and another coaching staff, it's always a story that's mentioned. For years, McDermott was on Ron Rivera's staff at Carolina with the Panthers. In addition, Buffalo's general manager, Brandon Beane, was in Carolina as well. Now in Washington, the Commanders had a weird instance with the Bills. Remember when J.D. McKissick was leaving Washington for Buffalo as a free agent? It was supposed to happen, but it didn't. McKissick ended up being back with the Commanders, what prompted Brandon Beane to saying things went down when he returned to Washington. Just interesting to keep in mind. Yeah, that was crazy, man. Like they kind of screwed us there. But in a way, the Buffalo Bills winded up winning at the end, right? Like McKissick, I don't even know where he's at now. So we winded up getting James Cook in the draft anyways. And then we winded up training for Naeem Hines, who had a great season, really. I don't know about great season, but he had some really great moments as a Buffalo Bill. And it's unfortunate he got hurt in a jet ski accident this offseason because he is an electric player. He's an electric returner. But, hey, we'll have Hines back next season, and he can continue to be that player that we wanted. But yeah, I don't think there's any bad blood between him and Ron Rivera. They are still friends. It's just I think it's more so whoever was the GM at the time in Washington, which I don't know if that's him or they're still there. I'm not sure who is there as acting GM, but that's a new ownership group and everything like that. So I don't know if there's bad blood between McDermott and Ron Rivera. I think there's probably just a lot of respect there, if anything. So yeah, those are my 6 storylines. And like I said, man, the news of the day, which added to that storyline, was Christian Kirksey, and that's just disappointing to hear. I do wonder what they're going to wind up doing before the trade deadline because I do believe that Brandon Beane should make some moves, and he may wind up picking up a middle linebacker some point during the season just to have as depth. But we'll see what happens. It's going to also be interesting to see what they do with Kyer Elam, who once again, 2 weeks in a row has been a healthy scratch, a first round pick, just sitting there on the bench in street clothes, losing his value. If there's any value there to be had right now for a possible trade, you're losing it by just having him sit there and do nothing. So listen, if you're not going to play you're not going to play the kid. Let this kid get an opportunity somewhere else. Move on from him. It is what it is. It sucks that you wasted a first round pick on him, but if you don't believe in him, then go ahead and ship him out and get something in return, rather than get nothing at all. But that's my opinion on the Kyer thing, and maybe he will get an opportunity this year at some point. But it's very disappointing that they're not giving him an opportunity to step on the field because I really, the things I saw from Kyrie Elam last year as a rookie, he had his little ups and downs, but I felt like his ups were really good, and I felt like he brung that nastiness on defense as well. He's a very physical corner, and he played very well against Miami as well, who's one of the better offenses in the NFL. Whether we like to hear that or not, they are. And I felt like he did a really good job last year against Tyreek Hill. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Brandon Bean has a lot of work to do with that, man. Just, decisions at least, with the middle linebacker now, and with Kyrie Elam. But other than that, week 3 coming up, and tonight at 7:30 will be Mafia Means Family podcast with Mini Mafia Mom, 7:30 Eastern time. You don't want to miss that. And then Friday Night Lights with me and Mikey at 8:30 Eastern time. And then Saturday AFC East Shakedown will be on Ace Per Head. So Curtis, if y'all know who Curtis is, Ace Per Head, go ahead and go over there, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because we go live at 6. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be an interesting show. Captain D will be returning as well. So, yep, that's the schedule lineup. And Bills Mafia, I love you. And as always, go Bills. I'm out of here. Peace.